welcome to DIOTALK. I'm Dio, and let's talk. I would like to present my guest for today, which is Shawn Hartrum. Hartrum, am I pronouncing it right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Shawn, today we're going to start talking about his experience as a volunteer for the paramedic in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Yes. Yes.
So just want to welcome you to the show. How you doing, brother? It's been a
I'm good.
while. You look
Yes.
good.
Yeah. Just working, school, trying to balance everything with, this wonderful virus that we have. But
Yes.
yeah, so
So how's it going? Have you continued volunteering for the paramedics, or has it been postponed because of the virus?
I actually gave it up about a year and a half ago, 2 years now. I had to give it up because
Whoa.
confliction schedules with school and, work and everything else. It's a lot of time consuming, especially when you get into you know, nights, days, all
Yeah.
these type of other shifts that we do as EMTs. Um, so it conflicted a lot with school, which is the reason why I had to give it up. But it was an awesome thing that I did. I did it from the age of 16 to about 22, which I'm 23 now. Um,
Whoa.
and it was an awesome experience. So the reason why I started it was because I volunteered in the operating room for about 2.5 years, from the age of 14 to about 16 and a half. I was in Jersey City Medical Center, and I volunteered in the operating room, and I experienced the side of the emergency
Whoa.
department. And I was in the emergency room for a little bit, and then I moved to the operating room floor, and then I decided, you know what, let me move on to actually see what goes on outside. So that's why I decided to go volunteer at Hoboken Volunteer Ambulance Corps, which is a ambulance corps which is completely 100% volunteer, and uh, at that time and still to today, it's 100% free. So they do not charge any of the patients that get in the back of that ambulance. We do not bill. It's 100% volunteer, so none of us get paid. We purchase our own uniforms. We purchase our own gear. We purchase everything out of our own pockets. Um, it's a decision that you have to make on your own, and it's something that you want to do because it is
Definitely, you have to be passionate for that.
absolutely. So it's something
You're
that is very.
basically a veteran, even though you're not, licensed or whatever. You're a veteran. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. So it's very expensive. It's not a cheap thing to get into. Of course, a lot of things that you do, it's always an expense, but this is
Got it.
something
Got
that's
it.
even more of an expense because uniforms have to be changed. You can't wear the same uniforms. The state requires every 6 months for you to purchase new uniforms, and it's very expensive because our uniforms, we get embroidered. So we would have our, department logo on it, our names on our uniforms, and each shirt just alone costs about $75 to be made, and that comes out of our own, your own pocket. And mind you, you're volunteering, so it's something that you have to find something else to do, which would pay you to
Yeah.
actually do that as well. So I did that, and the gear that we purchased. So in total, the out of cost pocket purchase is about $600 just to start. You need a CPR card, which has to be basic life support, and I actually teach the course. So I decided to actually
Well,
get
that's good to know because mine expired. So
yeah. So I actually teach the course. I have a couple friends that actually teach the course. Mine actually, I actually let it lapse because my instructor's license, but I can get it back, and it's very easy to get because I wasn't teaching as much with COVID. There's a lot of new procedures that we have to go through teaching CPR. You don't do breaths. It's a whole different curriculum now that we teach. And as of 2021, when there's a brand new curriculum that the American Heart Association decided that they were going to change. So that it's another, we talk about cost, but it costs a lot of money to teach all these medical things. Medical books cost about $300 just to have an instructor's course. And then you got to find a classroom. That's another cost. You got to make sure that, you're going to be able to teach the course. Then you got to purchase all the supplies for the course. And of course, you include all of that stuff into your cost when you actually do the course and you're teaching students, but it's a lot. And there's a lot of instructors out there that teach this type of course. So you have to find an area in a sense that doesn't have so many instructors and teach there. I used to teach at Hoboken Ambulance Corps. Actually, we had our own classroom. So I used to get students that actually wanted to teach there. I used to get some EMTs that were in the process, because just because you're an EMT, we still need that basic support CPR card. It's mandatory in the state of New Jersey that you have to have that. Red Cross also teaches it, but they teach a different version. So some departments do accept it, some departments don't. It all depends on your department that you're going to work for. My department accepted both Red Cross and American Heart Association. They prefer AHA, but Red Cross was also accepted. Yeah, I've was there for about 5.5 years, from calls from, dead on arrivals, to dealing with the drunk person, to dealing with motor vehicle accidents, to dealing with people that got arrested, to dealing anything you could imagine. I've seen, dealt with, um, cuts, scrapes, head
I can
traumas, broken
imagine.
bones. You say it, I've seen it.
I can imagine. I in 2009, I graduated from Institute Bank and Commercial in Puerto Rico, and I graduated paramedic, not basic, not
Mm-hmm,
paramedic. I did, I think, 6 months working in the ambulance,
mm-hmm,
another 6 months in the hospital. So I got to see both sides of it.
right.
Uh, I dealt with dead on arrival,
Mm-hmm,
which is in my experience, it was an elderly man.
mm-hmm,
Like he was old. He had limb missing from his body.
mm-hmm.
Uh, when they did the CPR, you can hear him gasping, like the air just flowing through his body. It's when you're not normalized in that environment. I was shocked.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember I had to put a catheter on another older man. That was not a fun situation for him or me.
Right.
But it's incredible. I don't think paramedic gets the credibility they should get. They talk about cops, they talk about firemen, nurses, and whatnot, but I don't think that paramedics get enough credit as they should.
I have to agree. So, paramedics, EMTs, which a paramedic is a higher position than an EMT. An EMT is a basic life support. We deal with that. We don't give medications. We're not allowed to do in IVs. We're not allowed to intubate. We're not allowed to do any of that. But that's a paramedic's job. So that's called advanced life support in the state of New Jersey. So
Got it.
I dealt with basic life support. Um, but I have to agree with you, because some EMTs start off with $12 an hour.
Whoa.
Some departments, in order to get into a good department, most likely you're going to do transport, or you're going to volunteer for a period
Dude,
of
I
time.
remember I remember I had to
Mm-hmm,
administrate medication on
mm-hmm.
a patient that we picked up, and Puerto Rico, it's known for having bad streets.
Sorry, I'm listening
Uh,
to you.
it's known for bad streets. Like there's potholes everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine trying to administrate uh, via what do you call that?
Medication.
Yeah, but with the shot with the needle,
Okay.
right? Imagine trying to do that and catch a pothole
Mm-hmm.
and catch another pothole and catch another pothole and catch another pothole.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Not easy. And especially like in Hoboken, they just redid out of the roads. But like when I started, the roads were terrible, gravel
yeah,
roads, and
just trying to put the oxygen mask on,
mm-hmm.
right? And you're trying to put on, and you take a pothole, and it's right here. You
Right.
take another pothole, it's right here. Like it's not easy. Even basic, just being in general, basic or advanced, it's not easy.
It's not easy. It's not a job that gets a lot of recognition, and that's a problem. The state doesn't see it as that, and the pay rates that you get paid is ridiculous. A lot of it's a requirement to go to school for 6 months. So you have to go to school for 6 months to get this license and continuously continue your education. So you have to have 64 CEUs. Well, I'm not sure if they upped it from now, but that's called continuing education units. So you have to do that, which some of them you have to pay for. So that's another expense if you're not getting paid as an EMT. Most people do paid EMT and volunteer. That wasn't my route. I didn't want to get paid for it. I liked what I did. I liked giving back to the community, and that's the reason why I did it. But imagine you're getting paid $13 an hour to work for a transport company, and then you have to go through all of this. Is it worth continuing your license? Is it worth
Yeah,
going through all of
definitely.
this?
And the certifications. I
Mm-hmm.
remember. I still remember my professor. He missed one day of class because he had to get a certification in something that was mandatory, and it was like $800.
Right.
And
Yeah.
he was a paramedic. He was higher ranked,
Right.
and he had at night, because I would take the classes at night. He would teach at night,
Mm-hmm.
so he wasn't. He has these higher positions, but imagine Puerto Rico. The wage is not
Right.
compatible to over here.
Right. And even like you say Puerto Rico, but even in the state of New Jersey, I mean, paramedics get paid decent money. It's a college degree. You need at least 60 college credits. You need at least an associate's degree to become a paramedic in the state of New Jersey. You also have to take I think it's 320 hours in a hospital. You have to do your on-site training there. Jersey City Medical Center is one of them that I do know because I do have a friend right now going through the process to become a paramedic in the state of New Jersey. He works for UMDMJ, which is a university hospital in New York, and he works actually as an EMT there. And it's insane.
I find that crazy because when I graduated, right, maybe it's been over a decade already. Maybe isn't like I graduated. I have my diploma.
Mm-hmm.
It says certified EMT,
Mm-hmm.
and I graduated. I had to go and I think file. I had like what do you call those things? Like a pre-license, like a
Right.
permit, up to a
Mm-hmm.
year, and I think maybe two depending. And for a whole year, I could work. Within that year, I have to go now get the actual license.
Right.
So I was fresh. I had a fresh license, and I moved over here for better opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And the state of New Jersey did not take in consideration basically my studies, my grades, nothing, and nothing was
Right.
valid.
Right.
Like I went to seek information. They told me that in Florida, I probably could have
Mm-hmm.
worked it and everything will be valid, but in state New
Right.
Jersey is not. And I remember somebody telling me, I can't remember who, like I had to go back for 3 years. Three
Right.
years, something I did in like a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I already have a license. Like, I want your thoughts regards, on that, because for me, like I wouldn't do that.
So yeah, so like the state of New Jersey, we have the highest type of like certifications. Our certifications, for the most part, we can literally go anywhere in the country. But if you come from another state, like for example, Florida, one of my best friends, he's a cop in Florida, and their EMTs are completely different. So their licenses we go by letters. So we go A, B, and I. The state of Florida does I. So I literally can do everything almost a paramedic can do, but there's certain restrictions. I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, I don't live in the state of Florida, but there's certain restrictions that they can't do. So when they come to New Jersey, they're expecting to be able to intubate, give medications, things like that. That's something you can't do in the state of New Jersey. You have to
Yeah.
go to college and get it licensed and be on an ambulance and do. Not only do you have to do like
And not to cut you off, but it's
Mhm.
basic medications too, because to give a doses or certain doses, there's a doctor supposed to be available that they speak on a scanner and
Right,
they quickly call.
right.
So it's not just any medications. You can administer, I think, basic medications. If not,
So there's a certain amount of medications you're allowed to administer, and that's depending on your medical director for your facility. Each facility, each EMT base, each paramedic base has a medical director, and they set those standards for each department. So,
Got it.
for example, Jersey City could have a certain amount of medications that they're allowed to administer and a certain amount of dosage without calling the doctor. So they already are approved for that. Hackensack, they also have advanced life support, so they're able to administer the same things. They also have paramedics, but their medical director could say, no, you only could give half of a dose, where Jersey City Medical Center's medical director says you can give a full dose. So it all depends on your medical director. It has gotten a lot easier. Even with EMTs now, we are allowed to inject epinephrine, which is for like allergic reactions.
Yeah.
We're allowed to administer Narcan, which was something that we weren't allowed. So Narcan is a drug that reverses opioids. So opioids, what is opioids? Opioids are any type of drug that literally like Percocet, oxycodone, heroin. This medication reverses those side effects. So if you're literally dying from those type of medications, we can give you that dosage, where before we weren't allowed to do that as regular EMTs. Paramedics only had that option. So that's something
awesome.
that the state is trying to give more for EMTs as well. And the thing is that, like I said before, yes, they want to let us do more, but the pay is not there. And that's the crazy thing.
My as in like in Puerto Rico, when the time that I was living there, they used to call us camilleros.
Mm-hmm.
That's like basically they're referring to us paramedics that the only thing we know how to do is carry the bed.
Mm-hmm. A stretcher.
Yeah, the stretcher basically, and that's an insult. That means they're trying when they will call us that. That's basically insulting us.
Mm-hmm.
And I would take offense to that because we do so much. Like, and I consider myself being a part of that because at one point I was,
right.
And like I said, the appreciation and the respect, it's not there. It's not there.
Absolutely. And it's not only not there with just, us, it's not there with the whole type of family that we go for. So like firefighters, police, and EMTs, we all try to be a family. We're one big family. We try to make it that way. But it's like the problem is that it's not seen that way. And we're not the bad guys. We're there to help, and we're there to, for medical reasons. And we're not bad people. We're there to protect and to make sure that you get the medicals, the basic life support and the advanced life support needs before you get to an emergency room, which in our area, we're lucky that we have emergency rooms that could be 5 or 10 minutes away. But in a lot of suburb areas, that emergency room could be an hour and a half away. Like my friends live down in Toms River. Their closest trauma center is an hour and a half away. Jersey Shore Medical Center, depending on where you are, could be an hour and a half away. Luckily enough for us in Hudson County, we're lucky enough to have a trauma center that's 10, 15 minutes away in Jersey City Medical Center, depending on where you are in Hudson County. And if not, if you're completely far out of Hudson County and you're really close to Hackensack is only a 30-minute drive. And that's also another trauma center. So we're lucky we have 2 trauma centers in the tri-state area that's really close by. Yeah. However, a lot of cities don't have that option. And what is a trauma center? A trauma center is anything.
Yes.
It's basically a higher level hospital that can deal with real emergencies.
Yeah, like higher trauma.
Right.
And also, I don't know now, but back then, depending on what the person's calling, they would dispatch, like if they were like over there in Puerto Rico, they have a lot of private companies. Mm-hmm. So the private companies sometimes work with the state or like the city, the region, right?
Right.
And depending on what call they would get, like if somebody just fell and hurt their back, they will send the private companies just to go pick them up and take them to the hospital. Mm-hmm. Right. And some of them had like basic medications like Tylenol, Advil, basic because they're a private owned company. Mm-hmm. I guess the licensing and whatnot, they don't let them have those major, medications. Is that something they do here or no?
Yeah, so in the state of New Jersey, we're not allowed to give you a Band-Aid. We're not allowed to give you Tylenol, Advil, any type of medication as a regular EMT. The only one that's allowed to give you any of those medications would be a paramedic because they do have a degree and they do study paramedicine. So that's the degree that they study. As an EMT, we're not allowed to give those medications because that's technically diagnosing somebody, and we're not allowed to make a
Got
diagnostic.
it.
Where paramedics they can diagnose a little bit, where we're not allowed to do that. But it does depend on the state. So, of course, I'm talking about the state of New Jersey, but I can go back to Florida. Florida gives them a little bit more leadway as an EMT. And just because we're not getting a degree, it's a 6 months course that we do have to take. And when I got my license, I actually did it at a college, and I received 10 college credits for going to get my EMT license. So it costs about $3,200 for that license. And that's just a license by itself. And good thing about being a volunteer was my volunteer company actually paid for me to go. So I didn't have to pay that $3,200 out of my own pocket. I got a voucher from the state of New Jersey that allowed me to go get my license. So I got my license through the state, and I didn't have to pay a dime for it being a volunteer. So I actually volunteered 2 years prior to getting my license. But a lot of people do decide as soon as they walk in the door, get their license and become an EMT. It wasn't something that I had on my mind. At that time, I was a high school student. I also worked part-time. I had a lot of things going on. My grandmother was sick. So it was just not on my mind right then and there. And then I decided to go back and get it. Currently, I am studying. I'm still a student, like I said before. I'm still going in the medical field in a sense, but not as much. I'm a forensic psychologist, so I'm going to get my degree in forensic psychology. I am a year out. I have a year left, 2 semesters. And forensic psychology is something that I have a passion for. I wanted to be a law enforcement officer, so that's where I'm going. But I don't want to sit in a cop car for 25 years, so I decided I wanted to get my degree in forensic psychology. I do have a associate's degree in criminal justice, and I'm studying forensic psychology, as I said, and I go to Fairleigh Dickinson University, and I have a minor in criminal justice, so I'm continuing my education in criminal justice, some different courses that I didn't take while I was in community college that I'm taking at the university. I've taken correction courses. I've taken child adolescent psychology, behavioral psychology, experimental psychology, social psychology. I've taken a lot of psychology courses, and my goal is to be a crime scene investigations detective. So, like the
You're
blood and
like
gruesome
you're like
CSI type
the
of
real
stuff that you
life.
say.
You're like the
Yeah,
real life Barry Allen.
yeah, or like Dexter or something like that. CSI, those type of shows. That's where I want to be, and that's where I like.
That's awesome, man. Just
And a
I,
lot of people say, how do you deal with blood? How do you deal with guts? How do you deal with things like that? I've seen it since I'm 14 years old. I was in the operating room. I went from there to being on the street. My first 6 weeks in, my first call for a dead body was a 23-year-old man that had his body decapitated by a drunk driver.
whoa.
So his legs were the opposite way, head snapped, feet, arms, everything was completely decapitated when we arrived on scene. So that was six weeks in. I was 16, and that was my first dead body. And then I got another one that I actually did a CPR save for. So it's something that you have to have the guts, the stomach, the heart.
Passion,
I
especially.
absolutely compassion, but also you have to have that thick skin. And when I mean thick skin, I don't mean like that jerkish attitude
No, you have to
nobody
have
wants to
tough.
talk to you to,
Yeah,
but the sense of thick skin to the where you can handle it. And not everything you're going to be able to handle
correct.
because you're human and you have a heart. You also most people do understand and do feel for people. Obviously, at 23 years old, my brother was the same age. Back in my mind, that could have been my brother walking down the street and got hit by a drunk driver. That's in the back of your mind, but you can't take those. You got to try, and it's very, very hard. It's something that a lot of people cannot do. Not make it a personal experience. Think about it as it's a job. This is what you got to do, and put your mindset there. PTSD is a real thing. A lot of people don't believe in PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. I actually had it twice in my life. And every time when I would go back to volunteering, the thing that would trigger my PTSD was, are you okay? Are you okay? How are you feeling? Blah, 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 blah. Those questions trigger post-traumatic stress disorder. So it'll make you flash back to what happened. And for weeks, I literally just had to tell my bosses and things like, I understand you're trying to be nice and asking me how I'm doing, but you got to stop because that was triggering my post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's something that you can get rid of. A lot of people get it. Military people, especially cops, firemen, EMTs, you see all these detrimental things, and you can get that. I didn't go see a psychiatrist. I could have. Definitely something I would definitely probably think about the next time if I ever get it again, which is possible. As I said, I'm going into the criminal justice field, but it's something that you really have to think about. It's not something that's easy, not something easy to deal with. You have family, you have friends that are going to ask you, are you okay? And those things trigger. Everybody's trigger points are different. It's not the same, but that was my trigger point. So every time somebody would ask me, are you okay? How are you feeling? Are you depressed? We're here for you, things like that. Yes, we appreciate that, but you have to understand that somebody with post-traumatic stress disorder, that sends flashbacks. So like seeing an ambulance drive by, that can send a flashback. Seeing, little things on TV can send a flashback. And that's things that people don't realize. And you're not trying to be mean, but it's just you have to realize that those things trigger. And that's where I was at. That's my story with post-traumatic stress disorder. I did have it twice. From another situation, but more than anything, that was my first post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's something you got to talk about even with your crew. Like, that was the best part about it. I always used to ride with the same people. We had a set crew, so every Friday, Saturday nights we would be together, and we used to talk about calls and things like that. You got to talk, you got to let it out, you got to distress, you got to if you're of age, go out for that drink, go out for that beer, talk to somebody, go whatever you like to do. If it's video games, hang out with friends. Don't put your mind where you're by yourself in a setting where you can't let that frustration or let that something that's bothering you out. And not only that, as a being an EMT and doing that, but also as a psychologist that I'm going to study. And I do consider myself a psychologist because I'm almost there. And I do psychology work. I do work with a psychologist right now, and I do therapy, and I do behavioral health and things like that. But it's something that you also have to do as a mental health. It's good for your mental health. It's good to express. It's good to, and it's hard. It's not easy. I mean, a lot of people don't know how to do it. It's something that we deal with as psychologists and as psychiatrists. We deal with on a regular basis. But for me, it's easy. I can express to you how I feel. I could talk to you. For me, I have that easygoing thing. I have that demeanor. But for a lot of people, it's not for everybody, to express how you feel. What's the biggest thing about divorces? I mean, I deal with family therapy as well. They don't talk to each other. They don't communicate. Communication is a big thing. And it's not only communication between husband and wife, and it's communication in everything. It's communication between you and your partner at work, or you and your, friends and things, you and your bosses. Communication is a big thing, and de-stressing is a big thing. If you're going through something, talk to somebody. Talk to
I
that
totally
friend.
agree. I totally agree.
So it's definitely something that you need to talk about and express how you feel and what's going on. I mean, I talk to my coworkers, I talk to my family, I talk to my friends, I try to talk to everybody that you could talk, like I know that I can trust and talk to, because you never know. I mean, I'm not going to hold something in and God forbid get a heart attack from
And what's
stress.
good about having that team is that they can empathize on what you're going through, because
Absolutely.
they're interacting and seeing the same thing you're seeing. So it helps you. It helps even more.
Absolutely.
It's you describing those traumas you've gone through, to try to explain that to somebody else, like a teacher or just anybody that is in that who is not in that world. They
Right.
would understand. They would be in shock. They wouldn't know what to say.
Absolutely. And that's the thing that you have to realize too. Like, yeah, you have people in your life that want to sympathize with you and want to try to understand where you're coming from, but don't really understand what's going on. So when you have that person, like I rode with the same partner for most of my time, most of my career as an EMT, and me and her, me and my friend, which we rode together. It was either a guy or girl, two of my closest friends still to this day. We talk to each other. I mean, like I said, one of my good friends, he's an EMT in Newark, and he's going to college right now to be a paramedic and a nurse. He's double majoring, and it's crazy the things that we talk about, but I can relate to him even though he's still in the field, because we've been through it. We were through it together. And not only that, but like I said, I'm going into the criminal justice field, and it's something that you could always relate to somebody with. And I always had those, thank God I had those relationships with my partners, and I had relationships with other people in the field, because you need that relationship. You need to be able to go to somebody that is able to relate to you. And that's why a lot of cops marry cops, a lot of EMTs marry EMTs, a lot of paramedics marry the same career field, because you can relate.
It's the same thing when it comes. I've had a lot of conversation with friends of mine that are married, and my thing with that is that you can't, if you're married, you have to speak to somebody that's married.
Yeah, that's true, but
you can't go to somebody that's not in your shoes, or it's not married, because they wouldn't understand the level of commitment. First of all, you get what I'm saying?
yeah, I understand what you're saying. But I kind of disagree. I'll agree to disagree. Yes,
Okay,
that's true.
respectfully.
But being someone that deals with this on a regular basis, yes, I'm not married, but I mean, my parents are married for 31 years. I've seen the experiences. I've seen what they go through. I understand that. But it's not
I
the
agree.
same. But it's not. Hold on. But it's
Okay,
not the same as actually being in a committed relationship
there you
and
go.
married.
All right.
I can give you an outside perspective, but I can't give you a perspective of being that person, because I'm currently not married. Obviously, I'm only 23, and I'm not in a committed relationship right now. So can I give relationship advice, and am I pretty good at it? Yeah, I could say I am. And I deal with it. So I do speak to a lot of married couples. I do speak to a lot of relationships.
Correct.
But my advice is always going to be from the outside perspective. I'm not going to give you the perspective that you're probably looking for, but I bet you my perspective is probably halfway or more decent than the person that's in the relationship. Why? Because there's always going to be a bias, and I don't have that bias. I have a bias of the outside perspective, and as a psychologist, I have that bias of my school knowledge and my, degree knowledge, but I don't have the bias of, yes, men do this, yes, women do this. It's a general, I don't have that real bias. Now, can I give my own opinion? Like I said, both of my parents are married. Luckily, they've been married for 31 years. And I see them, and I can give you advice through my parents, and that would be my bias. But as a bias, I usually, when I deal with groups, or I deal with one-on-one wife, husband, wife, whatever it is. Nowadays, we have all these types of different marriages, boyfriend, girlfriend, because it's true. Like, they do come in for counseling. Sometimes they want to make it work. And I always give a bias of my own opinion through education, not through my own seeing.
Yeah, I totally understand. I think I agree with you. And both aspects. You can give your opinion being outside, but you're outside.
Right.
Like also being inside. So I agree with you. But it goes back to the same thing you were saying, that when you have this camaraderie with your fellow co-workers and this atmosphere, being a paramedic, they get to understand what you're going through.
Right.
And it's difficult. I think, when was Ebola? Ebola was like 2008?
No, maybe even more than that. I don't actually, I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, it's almost like that. I mean,
I went through, I want to say, I could be wrong. I don't remember. There was a pandemic that when I was in 2009, it was that the year 2008, there was a pandemic like what we're going through now. But in Puerto Rico was different because, it's like Florida, you got to drive to places. It's not that crowded. But I guess my next question is, how do you think paramedics are managing with, with this chaos that's going on with the pandemic?
So,
are they confiding in one another more, relying, trusting? How are they tackling this?
I mean, it is a pandemic, and we are in a situation. I actually was someone that had it. My symptoms, I was symptomatic. I didn't have asymptomatic symptoms, and it's a lot. From a paramedic standpoint or an EMT standpoint, what they have to go through, wearing these protective masks, wearing N95s, going through, special clothing they have to wear, making sure that when they leave their ambulance and they go into their personal vehicles, that they more than likely bring in a change of clothes, so that way you're not bringing that virus into your own personal vehicle. You deal with COVID positive patients, you might not even know. It is a possibility. And, you know, it's hard. It's not an easy thing. We're going through a very terrible pandemic, which kills a lot of people. And in the beginning of this pandemic, one of my friends, which I bring back to, he's a Nork E.M.T, and he stated, like, doctors were diagnosing everybody with COVID.
Right,
So if
right
you
now, they're closing down Newark.
right. So Newark has a curfew right now is of 8 p.m. If you're caught on the street after 8 p.m. and you're not an essential worker, you will get a fine facing up to $1,500. And so, like he said, somebody was dying from cancer, somebody was dying from a heart attack, somebody that was dying from, you know, a brain injury or something like that. In the beginning of this pandemic, everybody was getting diagnosed as a COVID positive person. You could have never had COVID in your life. You could have tested COVID negative. You could have never had COVID, but that's what they were diagnosing everybody as COVID. So that's why I don't personally believe in the numbers that the state is actually saying. Yes, are the numbers high? I'm not disagreeing with that. Are they somewhat true? Yes. But there's also a lot of false net positives because, as I said to you before, people were dying from heart attacks, cancer, uh, head traumas, you know, things, bleed outs, femur,
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
et cetera, et cetera. Exactly. But like, they're diagnosing as COVID, and those were not COVID cases. They were actually medical diagnosed things that people had, but because it was happening during COVID, they didn't want to not diagnose them with COVID because, as you know, if you passed away during the COVID period, once they said you were diagnosed with COVID, you were not able to have a normal funeral. So you couldn't have like a normal wake. You couldn't bury somebody. Automatically, you went from the morgue in the hospital to a funeral home to a crematory center, and then your family didn't get to have that experience of an actual funeral.
So
and it's still happening.
Let me ask you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're stating that since COVID started, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were just checking off. Everybody had COVID, right?
Right.
So do you think, right? Them not knowing we're spreading the virus even more because once you went to the hospital and even though you don't have COVID, they checked you off and now they're pushing you in with people that have actually COVID. So they call it containing, but isn't that a form of spreading it? Because somebody doesn't have it now has it.
So basically, like you're saying, what you mean is like isolation. So basically, you went into the hospital and you said, okay, you might have said I'm COVID negative. I don't believe that so much. If you were healthy, you go in the hospital, for example, you broke your wrist, you have a sprained wrist. I don't believe so much that they were making you COVID positive patient. So you were being with COVID people. If you were dead, and I mean, I'm exaggerating on dead because if you were passed away or you had a condition that made you, you know, unfortunately you passed away, in that sense, that's when I would say that they were actually saying, yes, you're COVID positive, checking off the checkbox. When you were healthy and you went in the hospital because you had a broken wrist or you had a broken leg or anything in that nature, and there's a lot of more that are not as threatening as, you know, put a pneumonia or something like that. I don't believe that they were checking off the boxes. Remember, in the beginning, we didn't have rapid testing. So everything was getting sent out to a lab. It took days. It's still to this day, it could take 5 to 7 business days for you to get a lab testing. And rapid testing is not 100% accurate. So you get a lab testing, now 5 to 7 days you're waiting, and then you have to quarantine. So it's a lot. We do need to do something better. And personally, I think a vaccination is not the way to go as of right now. But the problem with this vaccination is that schooling and the guinea pigs is, and this is what my personal beliefs are going to be children. Why? Because children need a flu shot in order to go to school. Children need certain shots in order to be put in a public school. If students are not, and I mean children and students in the grades between K and 12, kindergarten and 12th grade, which is grammar school, high school in our area, they're going to be the guinea pigs because schools are going to make them get these vaccinations because they're going to have no choice. So what are parents going to do? They're going to vaccinate their child. Obviously, they can't afford to miss work. They got to, pay bills. And they miss so much work already. Kids are in virtual learning, and it's a headache. But they're going to be the ones that are going to get this shot before an adult does, because we can
Do
say
you
no.
think as a soon-to-be psychologist,
Mhm.
do you think virtual learning is a good idea?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Um, I don't have children of my own. I have two godchildren. One is 6, one is 2. My 6-year-old godson is in first grade, and I believe that it's terrible. Um,
This is my
it's
opinion, right?
it's keep it's keep just give me just 1 second. It's actually, I believe, slowing down kids because they're not getting the education that they actually need. The difference between, and I'm a college student currently. I personally don't like taking online classes because I don't get that experience, that one-on-one with the professor or with that teacher, understanding something, asking those questions and those type of things cannot be done on a virtual learning. And I believe that children are falling behind because of that. You're not getting that speech therapy. You're not getting that English as a second language
You're not
teacher.
getting that attention and
You're not getting
one-on-one.
you're not getting all those special needs, which what they would be called on a virtual learning type of thing, where you would get that if you were in an actual school facility.
I
And
think that's like how do I explain it? Like that's like an FU moment because
Mhm.
you have society that's criticizing that the education of this state or this state is not good enough. Now they're obligating you, all right, basically FU, now go and teach your kids your own,
Right.
and
And some parents
it's
can't.
bad.
And some parents can't. Imagine someone like, for example, I'll use an example, my godson's mom. My godson's mom is a pharmacy technician. She works in Jersey Medical Center from 7 to 3 and then works a second job. She's a single mom and works a second job at night. So when does she have, honestly, if it wasn't for paying someone to take care of her child, like to be able to do that work with her child, how would she have the time to take care of the needs and the things that her son needs to progress through his schoolwork, and also provide and make sure he has a home over his head?
Yeah.
And that's the problem that we're facing.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
people
Yes.
don't realize that single parents, it's not easy. And not only that, but you might have a single parent that is not from this area or doesn't understand it, speaks a different language. You were born and raised in the United States, and you speak English and you understand English writing, and you can understand that, but your mom or dad might not have been from here. Maybe they're from a different state, country, or they're from a different area, and they only speak that language. It might be Spanish, Arabic, Portuguese, whatever your language is. They can't help you. So where do you go to get that help? And that's the problem. We're not giving children and young adults the tools as being virtual learning as we do as college students. We have a little bit more because they have already experimented and they already been through that. A lot of colleges, been doing online learning for years, where these schools don't have that. Technical difficulties, apps not working, things like that. It's sickening.
And right now, breaking news, if you didn't know, my son, there's a possibility that he's autistic, right?
Hmm.
So last week we had a virtual appointment,
Hmm.
and this appointment was to diagnose to see if he has it or not.
Okay.
It's totally fucking difficult. Totally fucking difficult because first of all, my son is in his comfortable zone, which is my
Right.
house, right?
His
And
house.
and now you have somebody on a small box trying to evaluate his condition,
Hmm.
and he's not paying no mind no mind to it, right? No mind that somebody, it's on this small box trying to see, hey, interact with him. He has no idea. You sit
Right.
him, we sit him on our laps. We put him from the, he's in, he's a big fan of the Super Wing show, right?
Hmm.
And he's, hey, Super Wings on. He has his toys. He's not in that, and it's difficult.
And someone that deals with evaluations, because I also do my own evaluations in behavioral health. It's a little different than autism, and I also mentor a student that has autism and Asperger's syndrome. Um, I am a mentor for
So what do you do in that, right? So I'm asking this. I'm presenting you my situation,
right.
um, but in general, like
Mhm.
you in your profession, you're going through. You see, how do you handle that? Being that person trying to evaluate.
So on the flip side, so that's what I was getting
Yeah.
to. So like the reason why I'm bringing up my situation is I mentor someone, right? So I mentor someone that's a freshman. He's in college. It's a brand new environment. Now, someone that has autism, they're used to a schedule. They're used to doing the same things every single day. They're used to somebody helping them. They're used to somebody being there. Where when you get to college, bye-bye. All that's gone. You're not going to have that person there. You're not going to have that person telling you got to do this, you got to do that. It doesn't happen. So what do I do? So how do I go about evaluations, right? Evaluations are also not done
Now, question:
first.
you're evaluating person in person or through the small box laptop, virtual?
Yeah, so that's where I was going to.
Okay, got it.
So I also have an office. I work with a psychologist, so we have our own offices. And I work in a behavioral health center, right? Um, that's where I'm internshipping right now because I do need internship for college. And so, like you said, it's not like you're one-on-one in my office.
Hmm.
And I also deal with children, so I also can, you know, relate to what you're talking about. But I also deal with adults. So this one-on-one situation is not the same when you're in my office or when I'm at your house because in the past, when you're doing an evaluation, most psychologists, most therapists go to do a home evaluation, or they'll do an office evaluation where we take the parents and we tell the parents, okay, go away for a little bit. We're going to evaluate your child. At home, we do a home evaluation. Why do we do two separate evaluations? And people ask this all the time. We want to see what your child is like at home with mom and dad there and with in our office where they're not home in a different environment. They're not in their comfort zone. They're outside of their comfort zone and see how they act there. And mom and dad, obviously, we try to get them out of the room there because we don't want them to know that mom and dad is there or just mom or just dad because sometimes that happens too, broken up families. Um, so we do these evaluations to try to see how your child interacts while the parents are not there and out of their comfort zone. That's the whole point of the evaluation. So that's the first evaluation we usually do. How do I do this evaluation when the child's at home? So we do usually do a home evaluation, but we go there. B, the child's in a little box. And like you said, and I personally know your son, but he's in his comfort zone. His toys are there. The TV's on. He's watching what he wants to watch. Mom and dad are there. He has the juice he likes. He has the snacks he likes. He wants something, he's going to go and get it. Where if he's in someone's office and we have rooms that we do evaluations, we have
Hmm.
toys, we have all those type of things, it's not his comfort zone. He's not going to go grab that bag of chips off that table. He's not going to go grab that juice cup off the table. He's going to realize that, hey, this is not my environment. This is not my comfort zone. I can't just go grab whatever I want. Oh yeah, you can grab the toys. Of course, they're there for you to play with, and that's why we're trying to see how you evaluate what you were there. But if you're in a little box, I can't evaluate you the way I would evaluate you normally. And that's the problem. And I see that as an issue, and that's something that you brought up because it's not an easy thing as being on the flip side of it either because we can't see everything. We don't have cameras that are giving us a 360 view of your home. We only have a little box camera, a little Skype camera, a little laptop camera, whatever you want to say, a little webcam that can
And
see a
bad
big
internet,
area.
bad internet, and bad Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like the Wi-Fi messes up, the camera freezes. Now my evaluation is all screwed up because I couldn't see for 5 or 10 minutes. So now what do? That's 5 or 10 minutes that I lost, and that's 5 or 10 minutes that I could have evaluated your child or an adult or whoever I'm evaluating that I lost. And that sucks. We lost. But not only that, but that's time on your evaluation that I could have evaluated something or maybe saw something that I didn't see for the last half hour I evaluated. And that's an issue. And, unfortunately, there's a lot of people on Wi-Fi right now. A lot of companies, have tons of people on Wi-Fi, and that's normal. But, like, it's more than ever because we have all this virtual learning going on.
Mm-hmm.
But people, like, in the medical field, we're doing virtual calling. Doctors are doing it. I see specialists myself. I have a couple medical conditions that I'm going through, and it's a virtual appointment. I don't want to go through a virtual appointment. I can't get that relationship with my doctor, through a camera.
Yeah.
You don't know who I am. All you see is a video chat, and a video chat is not going to tell you who I am. That doesn't give you really my personality. That doesn't give you all the things about me. So imagine a kid, a 3 or 4 year old, 5-year-old kid, or even a 2-year-old going through this process and doesn't understand obviously what he's going through or what she's going through, but they also have to do it on a virtual setting. It's terrible. And personally, right now, my office, we have stopped evaluations, so we're not doing evaluations due to the fact that we can't do an actual in-office visit because of COVID, unfortunately. But we've stopped it because all of us got together with all the doctors, all of us students that are in there, all of the interns and everybody. We said, we can't do proper evaluations. And
Are you also are you having online classes, or you actually are going to university?
Yeah, so I'm also an online student. My classes are fully online, absolutely no in-class courses. So I actually sit behind a computer and do actually Zoom calls with. I had a class this semester once a week on Tuesdays from 6 to 8:30, and I actually sat in front of a computer. Now imagine as a 23-year-old college student adult. I'm an adult.
Mm-hmm.
I can't sit in my own house behind a computer for 2.5 hours. I'm getting up. I'm going to the bathroom. I'm going to the refrigerator. I'm going to get a snack. I'm going to eat dinner.
You're not focused.
I have the TV. The bed's right there, and I can't sit for 2.5 hours. And it's a 2.5 hour course, right? Imagine these kids that are trying to sit there for 6-7 hours. How do they feel? How can they do it? Because I personally can't. Exactly. I personally can't. And I'm an adult. And your bed is there. Oh, I'm a little sleepy. I'll go lay in the bed.
Or
I'll get back to it.
Parents that post on social media. I've seen a couple that their kid straight out just falls asleep
right
on top of the laptop.
Absolutely. It's not easy. Absolutely not easy at all. But that's the thing that I'm talking about. Like this virtual thing is good, but it's bad. And like another thing too, when we do go back to a normal society where schools are able to open and we're able to, we're going past this COVID thing, there's not going to be no longer snow days when you and I went to school or, our past generations went to school. It's going to be, you have that laptop, we're going to do a virtual school learning today. You're not getting that school day off. And that's what kids lived for. Like, it's snowing outside. Maybe we'll get a snow day. Oh, maybe we'll get to go into school late. We'll get to sleep in. Or maybe we'll be able to go to play in the snow today. Things like that. Kids are not going to be able to do that because now technology has grown so much that we can do everything from home.
I think my opinion, right? I think this education shit. If you don't have the right resources, or you're not a wealthy family, right? And you can pay somebody. Like right now, I'm thinking about investing on somebody to come in and homeschool my son, right?
Okay.
Because I feel there's nowhere to take him, and my son is so young that virtual learning is not going to do anything.
Right.
And I think education wise, and this time, these young kids and teenagers that need education the most, is going to hurt them in the future.
Absolutely. I agree with
you. If they do not do their due diligence and be proactive.
Absolutely.
You get what I'm saying?
I definitely agree with you. And going back to your son who's only 4, it's sad because he never asked for this. None of us ever asked for this virus, but your son has something that he needs someone to work with him on a one-on-one basis, and might outgrow it, and be able to overcome it and actually be a functional. And we're not saying he has autism, but someone that's on a higher spectrum of autism. And like you said, it's crazy because we're not I mean, we're not poor, but we're not wealthy either. So some of us might have to go get that extra job to be able to provide our children with things that would normally come if we were in a regular school setting. And now we have to go out of pocket and maybe pay $1,000 a month just for our child to get education and the proper tools that they need just to progress in life. And
Well,
if you have a child that's not
yeah.
willing to progress and they don't want to go through the process, well, they're just going to go through the system. And that's just annoys me even more because they shouldn't have to go through this.
Well, let's take a step back and go back to when I stated that if paramedics are not respected for their career,
Yep.
I want to go a step further now and say teachers are undervalued.
Yes, absolutely.
If you go to dreaminspireattain.com, I wrote in a small article, a small blog, in which I think last year I went back to Puerto Rico after like 10 years, and I visited my my hometown school, elementary, and it broke my heart because it's been closed over 5 years. 5 years it's been closed, and I'm looking at my son and I'm looking at my wife, and I'm just lost in my thoughts. I'm like, this is a place where dreams came true. You know, this is where teachers used to inspire us. You know, you hear people say sometimes, hey, I wanted to be a teacher because I had a great teacher. She inspired me, or this and that. And right now you have good teachers, but then you have teachers that just babysit. Right. But in this moment in time we're in, this is when we need teachers the most.
Absolutely. And people say, oh, teachers this, teachers that, they get paid a good salary, they're off all the holidays, they're off all this throughout the whole summer. Yeah, that's part of the deal with teaching, but not everybody can be a teacher. And personally, that was my first dream, to be a teacher, because I absolutely love teaching. I have a great perspective on teaching, but it's not for everybody. Not everybody can teach something. And it's funny you mentioned that because I was actually on a phone call today earlier today after I got out of work. And
You're inspiring me to go back to school.
I actually spoke.
I'm pre-recording a couple of episodes before I release them in January. And I have to say, so far, this is my favorite episode.
Thank you. So I actually was speaking to a doctor. Long story short, I'm taking a course this semester. I'm filing a formal complaint on one of my professors, speaking about teaching. You're supposed to inspire me. You're supposed to make me want to come to your class and make me want to enjoy what I'm paying for to get some type of education.
Yeah, some university professors are just stuck up.
Absolutely. So I was speaking to the director of the department. I am that type of person. I will go above and beyond because not only did you do something to me, but I think about the next person. I don't want that next person, that next student, to have to go through what I went through. So, like I said, I had COVID. I tested COVID positive. I was out for 2 weeks. I was sick. I couldn't walk, couldn't move. The after effects, I had hives. I was hospitalized. It was terrible.
I'm glad you're here with us today.
Yes.
Healthier and stronger.
Thank you. It wasn't an easy process. It wasn't an easy road. My mom, my dad, my brother, all of us had gotten COVID being in the same household. One tested positive, then next one, then the next one, the next one. And it was the compassion that this man had was terrible. He didn't care. It was just like, okay, whatever, like trying to reach him and things like that. And that's not something that you want as an educator. Even in the lower grades, you needed somebody that's going to want to teach you, is going to understand where you're coming from, going to understand that things are happening at home. And that compassion from a teacher, your teacher could be your best friend. And it's funny that you mentioned that because, like I said, I was on a call today with a doctor, Dr. Brado, and she's our director at my school. She teaches a bunch of courses. She actually teaches China. She teaches a bunch of different things. She teaches English as a second language, and she said to me, she said, Shawn, I don't know how the conversation had started, but she said, I knew since my 5th grade year that I wanted to be a teacher. And I said, how? She said, I had an amazing 5th grade teacher that inspired me to want to teach. And ever since then, the lady is 65 years old, taught 25 years in an elementary school between the grades of kindergarten and grade 12, and is still continuing to teach. She teaches in China. She teaches classes in China. She teaches classes in TNEC University, at our university in TNEC. Fairleigh Dickinson also has a university in London, China. TNEC Florham, which is all in New Jersey, the 2 in New Jersey, and we have another location. I'm not 100% sure. We have 5 locations. 3 of them are out of the country, and she teaches in these different areas. And she's 65 years old, continuing. And she's told me today, she said, Shawn, I'm not ready to be finished yet. Her husband wanted her to stop after 25 years. She said, you don't need to. You're done. You're good. You retired. You're done.
And this is why. Yeah, this is why I created my brand, Dream, Inspire, Obtain, to have people like you, individuals like you, come in here and talk about that. We need more of that. You know, right now, society is taking a hit. But before that hit, society doesn't have that. You have people constantly blogging, not even blogging, this video, oh, you want to be an entrepreneur or this and that. But they're not inspiring. They're teaching you how to make money. And sometimes you need more than that.
Right. So it's not all about like telling you what to do. It's walking you through the process of how to do. And you can pay millions.
You need dreamers, right? Dreamers that inspire others to obtain. You know, right now I have a dream of doing this, right? But as I'm dreaming this, I'm inspiring because I don't know how to fucking do this, you know? But people see me doing it. Yeah. People see me doing it
and you're going forward and doing it.
And I'm doing it and I'm doing it nonchalant. I'm doing it. I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid to teach. And I'm doing it because I want to, because I want people to see me and be like, hey, you can do better.
Or you or the opposite around that. Okay, I see him doing it. He started from the bottom. Now he's working his way up, and I could do this as well. And that's the thing that you have to think about. It's not always about yourself. And that's
exactly
that society today, we have a problem with. We always think about ourselves and we're selfless and we don't care about others, but you have to care about others. How do others learn from other people? And I'll never forget, I actually went to a weekend seminar with Sean Callagy, which is a great person. He tells you how to build businesses and all this stuff. And the biggest thing he said was, don't think about yourself all the time. Think about others. Think about how you can do things for others and also help yourself. Creating that bond with somebody, that person is going to tell that, hey, listen, one of my good friends, he's a real estate agent. And he said, like, listen, that you talk to that person, that day they might not buy that house, but guess what? That interaction that you had with that person, they'll go to somebody else and say, hey, they'll hear a conversation. Oh, you're buying a house? Well, guess what? Steven, he's a real estate agent, and he was an awesome person. I had a great conversation with him, good demeanor.
There's too much negativity.
And that's the problem that we have.
You know, like the teacher you're saying right now, 65, and she doesn't want to stop because she loves teaching. She loves. You know, you little does she know that she's inspiring a whole world.
Right.
Because that person she inspires can touch other people because of her. You know.
Absolutely.
And I think it's too much negative. You know, there's too much.
Absolutely.
You know, I tell my wife this all the time, right? At this moment in time in my life, I want to sit in a rectangular table because I need to sit down on the head. Because at this point in my life, I've tried to sit down in that circle table that everybody can eat,
Mm-hmm.
right? But because X, Y, and Z situations, I'm forced to now sit in this rectangular table that I need to let people know who the fuck I am. And I feel sometimes I feel sad because that's not the person I want to be. I want to sit on that round table when everybody can eat
Mm-hmm.
because there's food for everyone to eat,
Right.
right? And that's just like it makes me think. It's like there's so much negativity.
Right.
Like it's so easy to say, hey, don't worry about it. You can do it.
Mm-hmm. And
It's
it's easy. It's easy for somebody to say, but the difference
mm-hmm.
is that person do it?
Yeah.
Is that person also say? I could say to you, hey, you're low life. You don't have a job.
Mm-hmm.
You're
And
collecting
that's
from
easy. That's
unemployment.
actually easier to say, but
Say
to say,
than
hey,
to
you
be
can
done.
do it.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it,
Hey, listen.
and just keep doing it. It's so difficult. Why?
Yeah, and so the thing is that personally, I can say I'm 23. I'm pretty successful. I do work for the state of New Jersey.
Yes.
I work for the insurance company for the state of New Jersey. I work for Medicaid. It is a big deal. A lot of people, it's a position that a lot of people can't get, and I don't really look at myself and take success for myself as the way I should. I look at other people and I see good in other people, and I see what other people are doing. So personally, if I see that you're doing well and you could be the same age as me, you could own $1 million company, you could be making millions of dollars. I don't treat you differently because of what you did. I don't treat you differently because you make millions of dollars. I treat you the way I would want you to treat me. And yes, you could make millions of dollars or you could make $10 an hour. That means nothing to me. What the most important thing about it is how you treat me and how I treat you. And the problem is when people go above someone else, they don't know how to treat people below them. They always think that people below them are not as good as them. They think they're better than
My
them.
my ex boss, right? And this is somebody that I still admire because she's a woman. She's a VP.
Mm-hmm.
She's worked her ass, but it's like a bittersweet. I had this situation where we I was an operation manager.
Mm-hmm.
I managed over 20, 30, let's say 50 plus sites.
Mm-hmm.
The state of New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, Connecticut, New York, Staten Island, and here in Jersey City, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was an account where basically the manager of the account basically told me to my face that he didn't want the guy there because he didn't like the way he looked. And when he told me that, and I questioned, "What do you mean?" And he looked me dead in the eyes and said, "I don't like the way he looks." Do you see what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm. And a lot of these corporate 500 people are looking
Mm-hmm.
for that special person. They don't want that person that doesn't look the way that they want them to look to
Mm-hmm.
be in that corporate office. Even as a security officer, I worked security. I had my store license. Was an operations manager for a security company as well. And I've been through that as well, because you could have the best security worker. That person could work their asses off and be the best person for that position, but because they don't fit that
Mm-hmm.
corporate 500 world, that
It wasn't even a 500.
yeah, but
It
just
was a
think about
fucking
it.
factory.
But think
Okay.
about it that way. They're looking for those corporate 500 people to come into that
Mm-hmm.
facility and see that corporate 500 person. And that's the problem.
And to tell
We
you,
all think with a corporate 500
yeah.
mindset that we don't think about how that person actually is. And that person could maybe, all right, he needed a little ironing in his clothes or sending to the dry cleaner, pressing his pants. Little things like that matter. And trust me, I know that because I work every day I go to work, I have to be dressed. I'm in a dress shirt, dress shoes, and dress pants. I don't have to dress like that. I could wear jeans and a polo shirt. Why do I do that? Why do I dress every day? Not for the compliments that I get, because the compliments that I do get, a lot of people say, hey, Shawn, you dress nice or whatever. The thing about it is looking different than the next person. That other person that dresses in those jeans and sneakers every day versus the person that dresses every day to work in his dress shoes and his button-up shirt and his dress pants, his clothes are ironed, he has that want to do better attitude, is going to get that next position before the other person. I'm at my job for 90 days and has had 4 promotions in the last 90 days. Something that a lot of other people have not done and are jealous of, but understand the demeanor. I'm on time every day to work. I'm there before I'm supposed to be at work. I do what I have to do. I'm dressed well, and an appearance makes a whole difference because your boss is going to realize that you're there and you want to be there.
Yeah.
If you're dressed in bummy sweatpants, a t-shirt, and sneakers every day going to work, well, your boss is going to say you don't really care about this job. Well, all right, promotion's coming around. I ain't giving it to him. But you got the person that has his nice jeans on and dress shoes,
well, and
casual.
And the situation I had, it was basically a cleaning person. And he basically told me he didn't want him there because his skin color. So
and that happens.
And I did what you did. I put a complaint in because in my level at the moment I can. So I set up a meeting. A couple of weeks I think passed by. I set up a meeting with my boss, the VP, because in the times we're in, things as those need to be addressed, right?
Absolutely.
So mind you, I set up a meeting. She gets there 30 minutes late. And I try to address the situation to see how to deal with this moving forward.
Right.
Right? Because it's a racial situation that's happening. Her response was, you're arrogant and I wipe my ass with your position. I make more money than you.
Right.
And then when it comes to the client, you need to shut up and mind your business. And this is a VP of a company. So I took a deep breath. I smiled. I said, thank you for your time. And I left. And this goes back to what's representing now. There's too much negativity.
And that just goes to show, if your vice president is talking to another manager like that, it goes to show her actual true colors and how that corporation is actually ran and how that company's ran. Because if a vice president talks to a manager like that, how are they talking to the low guy on the totem pole that is basically the person that actually does the job?
And this is a cleaning company, right?
Right.
When it comes to cleaning companies, I tell people all the time, you give them respect.
It's not an easy job.
It's not.
Absolutely not an easy job.
And a lot of people demoralize them.
Absolutely. And my godson's mom actually she's a pharmacy technician, and at nighttime she cleans banks. She works in Staten Island as at Bank of America cleaning their banks. And like she says, it's not an easy job. You got to clean the bathrooms. There's women that leave nasty types of things when they have their menstrual cycles, things like that. That's gross. And these people, if it weren't for them, we wouldn't have the cleanliness that we need or we want to see in the bathroom. If the bathroom's disgusting, personally, I'm not going to that bathroom. If I have to wait the 30 minutes to go home, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait, because I personally will not go into a bathroom that's disgusting.
And that moment is what made me start this, because I need a platform for people like you to be presented.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? There's a voice out there that's not being heard, and it's the voice that we need.
Right.
We need to be a little bit more uplifting. If you can't learn something, it's difficult for you to learn something. It's to say, hey, just take your time, but you'll get there.
And not only that, have the support. I think that's the
Exactly.
biggest problem that we lack. I think that's an issue we currently lack a lot, is that we can't support one another. We're always trying to surpass another person versus actually supporting that person and understand. For example, you don't understand something. Okay, no problem. Let me try to explain it another way. And I'm the type of person personally, we could be doing the same exact job and I could know more information than you, but if you get the promotion instead of I do, that instead of me, I understand that. And I'm happy for you. And I'm not the type of person to say, "Oh no, well, go after yourself. I know more information than you do now."
But we
And
live in a world that it's
it's all about
politics.
that.
It's all about politics.
Hmm.
It's not what you know, is who you know.
Exactly.
And
And that's a big problem in law enforcement. Going back to what we were talking about before, and now we're talking about jobs like our regular jobs, but where I want to be,
mhm.
it's really hard now. It's not about, you could score 95 on the test, you could score 99 on the test. And it's not about what you score on that silver service test. It's about who you know. And as I like to say, who you know and who you blow. Because if you know someone,
That's a
if
good
you
one.
know if you know someone in the political field, like you just said, no problem. You could score an 85 on the test, and I bet you're going to get on that police field or that police department. But the person that scored a 99 that doesn't know nobody and literally just wants to, could start a career, they get screwed over because they don't know that person.
And
Or it's very
it's
political.
good
Like,
people out there. There's good people out there, and they get it the worst because they're good.
yes, absolutely. And that's why I personally, like, that's my goal, to be a crime scene investigator. But I also always have a backup plan. And that's what you always have to have. You can't go oriented 100%. You need to realize that might fail. And failure is not something to be sad about or
No,
mad about. Failure is something, okay, how am I going to fix it and get to where I want to be?
failure is the best teacher in life.
Absolutely.
I've done a couple of these shows. You think each one is a Joe Rogan or some other guy that's,
Mm-hmm.
it's failure is the best teacher there is.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people
A
they
lot of
stay
people
that,
fail
and
and stay at that stage.
yeah,
They don't
and
they don't ever
we
want to
have to keep
progress
moving forward.
and figure out, okay, I failed. Now let me figure out what I can do to go back and try again. And if you fail again, you get dropped down again. All right, how do
You
I fix it
continue,
again?
you continue.
Continue and
It's a
continue and
process.
continue. And it's a process that there's always going to be a process. You're always going to fail at something, but the thing that you can't do is stay as a failure. You got to try to bring it back to something that, okay, how am I going to fix it? Continue your mind,
Hmm.
let it keep going
Hmm.
until you get to the point where you want to be. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. Progress doesn't come in an overnight period,
Oh,
but progress will come, and it could be the slowest progress it could ever be. For example, you could have you could start off with a clothing business. Start off with a clothing business. Nobody knows your line. All right, you're failing in the beginning. You're not making any money. You only getting a couple people to buy your product, right? So how do I promote my product to be just as good as Polo Ralph Lauren, or just as good as Calvin Klein or Gucci, Louis Vuitton, all those brands? How do I get my brand to be at that level as well? And that's where you have to be. Your mindset has to be in the game, as I like to call it,
hmm.
like in the game. You got to be in the game. If you're not in the game and you don't have that mindset to fail, progress, fail, progress, fail,
And
progress,
continue, and not just
or
fell, but fell forward.
progress, 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 fail, progress, 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 fail, you're gonna have some failures in life. Things don't work. We're not in a perfect society, so things
Hmm.
you're gonna fail. But the thing is getting back up and fixing your failures. Don't stay as a failure, and that's something that when I talk to, and I try to mentor a lot of youth because I want them to realize Look where I'm at 23 years old.
But that's work. And a lot of people right now, what the media does, and not just media, just they shine something that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
They and you go on social media, everybody promotes their success, but nobody promotes when they were grinding. Nobody shows
Right.
the documentary of when they were going through those hardships and those
Right.
stress
How
moments.
they failed.
Yeah,
They're failures. They always see the
everybody wants to
successes.
show when they have the fucking I don't know.
Corporate $500 million car outside. They don't show.
Exactly.
They don't show when they were driving around the Toyota Prius. No offense to
Hmm.
anybody that drives one, but and how they
Or the
build,
RAV4.
or how they build to that Lamborghini and that Corvette and that Porsche and the, you know,
Hmm.
Mercedes
And
Benz
the
and things like
last
that.
couple of years, right? Because it's years.
Yeah, it
Ever
takes
since
time.
the internet came in, things has changed drastically. So
Absolutely.
everybody wants to go fast forward to the Lamborghini. They want to be 23 and they want to drive a Porsche,
Right.
and they don't know how to utilize or have value in these things that you're not supposed to get overnight.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason, there's a process,
Absolutely.
because you need to know the process so you can have a find value in things.
Absolutely. And personally, like, you know, I've been through it. You know,
Yes, as
I
me personally that knows
current
you, I understand you.
I never, people when I so in January, I had my appendix removed and I lost my grandmother to stage 4 cancer the next day. So
Sorry for
people
your
never
loss.
thought, thank you. So the people never thought that I was going to go back to college. They're like, "Oh, you're done. You took a semester off. You're never going to go back to college. You're never going to finish your degree." And I took all that negative talk and put it into positive talk.
Yeah.
That
Flip
made
it.
me want to
Flip
push
it.
even more and more harder than ever because I knew I wasn't going to fail.
I I
I got set
I was
back, but that
supposed
wasn't a
to,
failure.
yeah, I was supposed to go start this semester. I think it's my fourth or my fifth semester for my associate's degree. I postponed it because it wasn't failure, it was now a priority. My
Hmm.
son is at an age that needs attention,
Right.
and that's my priority right now.
Absolutely.
When he's okay, but it's different, there's different things. But as soon as he gets his valuation, he needs his stuff. I'm going on the grind. I'm going on the grind, and that's that. People take my situation, right, and use it as an excuse. I don't use it
Hmm.
as an excuse. I use it. I gotta shift it now. I gotta readjust. I
Right.
gotta see what's priority. And that's my priority. But the plan's still the same. The plan's still the same, and a lot of people take that. Not my situation per se, but situation, and use this as an excuse, and that's that they can't. You know.
And that's an issue that we have. We make a lot of excuses, and it doesn't matter when you finish. It's about finishing, and that's the
Exactly.
problem. It
Amen
could
to
take
that.
you 12 years to get that degree, 20 years to get that degree, but you started something and you finished something. You didn't start something and just say, okay, well now my son is got this and this, or now
Hmm.
my wife's out of work, so I have to go pick up another job, or uh, I I had surgery and I can't work for 6 weeks and I can't go to school for 6 weeks, but I'm just gonna end everything because that just makes sense. No,
There's always going to be
let that
obstacles. There's always going to be
something
obstacles.
let those, like I like to say, speed bumps in the road
Hmm.
push you further. You're gonna go through speed bumps. Things are gonna happen. Look, in the last year, I went through having a surgery, having lost my grandmother, catching COVID, and everything, and I'm still progressing. I'm still going to college. I'm still getting my degree. Had COVID for 2 weeks. And throughout this semester, last semester, I actually had to withdraw because I couldn't, with the surgery and everything, I couldn't do everything at once. But I'm still progressing to where I want to be. I'm not going to let those major speed bumps, like I always like to say, or that bump in the road, let me fall back. Or let me
Or define
fail.
who you are. So
Exactly.
I think that's the major key for a lot of people not able to progress is one failure defines them who they are and defines the rest of their life. And we made mistakes. The person I am now is not the person who I was yesterday.
Right.
And failure has to be moved forward. You can't
Hmm.
drown in that moment because then you will never do anything in your life.
Right.
And I
And
think,
take the negativity
mhm,
that people give you and make it positive.
yeah, and
Make that negativity
that's why you have,
make you
yeah,
push further.
and that's why
Make
you
that
have,
negativity make something for yourself. Prove not only prove all those people, but prove to
mhm,
yourself that you're sorry.
exactly.
Prove to yourself that and show all those other people that talked all that negative stuff about you that you're better than
Mhm.
what they said or what they did to you or how they treated you
Exactly,
because
exactly.
that's going to hurt them more than y- that's going to hurt them more than what they actually said.
Yeah,
That you could wipe off your shoulder, but you doing something more that they thought you weren't going to do and they're not able to do because they want to talk all that negative bull crap about you,
mhm.
you're going to
Do you think that because we have so much negative, um, just put it just in general, right?
Mhm.
And not enough of um, positive energy, role models. That's why we have so many suicide cases.
Yeah, I personally do believe that that we have a lot of suicide cases because we don't have those people don't confide in other people, and they don't feel comfortable with talking to others, and that goes back to my communication thing before that I mentioned because it takes a lot to commit suicide. It's not something that is not that you do overnight. It's not something that you decide you're just going to do. It's an actual thought out process, and these people that commit suicide most of the time are very, very smart individuals. The way
Hmm.
they plan out their suicides and the way they plan out how they're going to do it and all of this stuff, it's not regular just Smo Joe going to go through all this trouble to commit suicide. But, and I don't mean to make it seem like it's not something real because it is
Hmm.
real. Suicidal attempts are real. Actual suicidals are very real. Um, and we joke around, people joke around and say, oh, I'm going to commit suicide. Yeah, actually try and do it, and actually saying something and actually doing it is two different things. And that's something that I could say. People joke around and say, "Oh, I'm going to commit suicide," or "Oh, I'm going to cut my wrist," or "Oh, I'm going to do this." Actually, do it and see how much balls you actually have
Hmm.
to actually do it. Because those people that actually do it, they're not doing it because they wanted to do it. They're doing it because bullies, they're gay, not and their family doesn't
Reasons X, Y, and Z reasons.
exactly reasons and reasons that they're basically they feel like they have no one else most of the time when it's a suicide and they do live. They tried to make the attempt because they felt they were alone. They didn't have that person they could go and talk to and say, I'm feeling down, or I'm feeling this, or I'm feeling that. They didn't have that person. And that's why I always say you always try to have that one person in your life. Maybe it's a loved one or a friend or anybody that you could just always express how you feel and always know that they're
See,
going to be there for
me
you.
growing up, I grew up in a difficult environment, right? I didn't
Mhm.
have everything you stated that we should have.
Mhm.
I had a mom. I didn't have a dad. I grew up with my grandparents, in which they're already elder. It's different.
Right.
I was the streets really raised me, right?
Mhm.
And I had all those emotions that you just stated, and not once. Um, maybe it was just pride, right? I never had that once moment of suicidal thought, right? I had a lot of bullies. There was a lot of bullies, and I know at a very young age I came to realize Mind you, I'm living in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, it's not a third world country,
Right.
but motherfuckers are savages,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So I, at a very young age, I had to tell myself, who do I want to be? Right? Who do I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to be a sorry, depressed little boy, or do I want somebody people can respect of? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, my wife and I said earlier that we went to Puerto Rico.
I've actually been there myself.
Yeah. I took my wife for the first time in Puerto Rico, and she got to meet who I was
And see.
and see through people's reactions and stories to see
Mm-hmm.
who I was. I wasn't, now that I'm at this point in my life, I wasn't very proud of who I was. Let's just leave it
Okay.
at that, right?
Yeah.
But this goes back to the whole conversation that people suicide and people in my situation, we need more of just, I don't want to say, positive role models, but we need more people say you can do it. It's going to be okay. It's a process. We need more of that.
And you need those people you can trust, because I've been through thick and thin. Family members in and out of the corrections
Yeah.
facilities.
Yes.
Family members that
I
grew
grew
up.
up going to see my stepdad and my father, my stepdad, fucking that was it that jail right by Kearney.
The Kearney, Hudson County,
Yeah, in and out every weekend. I grew up as a child.
and
You know,
I have family members that are in and out of jail. I have family members that just committed a murder that's in jail. I have
yeah,
family members that are everything.
and it sucks.
The thing is that I've been exposed to so much that I don't judge somebody.
Yeah.
You could be the baddest, worst person in the world, but I will be there for you and listen to you. And
Mhm.
that's something that I have. I have a heart, and it's not only a heart, but it's something that I've grown to learn how to do, because you never know what somebody's going through. They could have
Exactly.
a
100%.
smile on their face. They could go to work every day, act like nothing's wrong. But deep down inside, something might be going on with them. And that's the day that you get that phone call, or you get that email, or you get that message, or however that person commits suicide, because you knew something was wrong, but you never went to that person to talk to them. And I could judge it from a mile away. I mean, that's not besides my, that's what I'm going to
Mhm,
school for.
mhm.
But before that, I could judge somebody's demeanor. I could judge the way you walk, the way you talk that day, the way I could judge that from a mile away. And I always was that person. I always knew when something was wrong with someone. I could just tell. And I'm a social butterfly, like I like to say, and I could talk
Mhm.
to literally anyone.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Yeah.
that's
That's one thing I admire you the most. Ever since we met back way back, I am not a social, maybe because the environment I grew up in or I was in so many years that it's difficult.
hmm and I think that has to do a lot with cultural background.
Hmm.
Um, I have cousins that are also, of this Hispanic heritage, and they're not the same as well,
Hmm.
like as myself. I think that it's and when I mean Hispanic, I mean all types of,
Hmm.
Spaniard, all the different types, Puerto Rican, Dominican, all of them.
Yeah, yeah,
General Hispanics in a general section. Um, they Parents teach them to have this tough build, and not to talk to anybody, and don't show expression and things like that. And I personally feel that that's not the right way to teach somebody, because you that person, like you said, you had all those emotions. You never tried to commit suicide. It might have been a thought. It could have been a thought, but all those emotions you build up so much. And what happens is you build up all these emotions, and after a while, the bubble's going to burst. And when that bubble bursts, is when a suicidal attempt is going to decide to come into play. And let me tell you something. I've seen suicidal attempts. I've seen completed suicidals. And there's things that I just am like, wow, you know, and I'm happy when it's just a suicidal attempt and I actually get to talk to the person and I actually get to work with them and mentor them and, you know, go through that process. And I absolutely love it. I love being a mentor to younger people. I love being a mentor in general, not only to people my age, but even older, you know, people
It's a
that,
conversation.
you know, just that conversation. It might be over a Starbucks coffee or Dunkin' Donuts coffee or lunch or dinner, whatever, a drink at the bar. It's just that you letting off that emotion and that steam and understanding that somebody's there for you to talk to, because that could mean so much to someone, thinking that they're alone and they have nobody cares for them and nobody wants to be around them and nobody this and nobody that. There's always going to be that one person that will be there for you and that will want to talk to you and will want to understand what you're going through. And you might not confide in that person, but
Mm-hmm.
you get to know them, build a relationship, be able to talk to them, things like that. And it's easier said than done, for a lot of people. For myself, I think that I'm more easy for somebody to come to me, but for
Then
me
you
to
go, yeah.
then for me to go to someone else. And I don't want to say it's so much pride, but being in the psychology field and things like that, I guess it does have to do with pride, because I don't want to have to go to another psychologist. And that's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. A lot of psychologists go to see another psychologist because you're dealing with all these problems listening to everybody else's
Yeah.
problems. But you need to express yours too to someone else. And it's like I said, it's easier said than done, but definitely something that, you know, I'm not ashamed of. Talking to somebody, going to talk to somebody, going to seek medical help, things like that. You know, a lot of things have happened. Traumatic episodes. Like I said, I've had PTSD. I've been through, you know, family members that
But
been incarcerated. A lot of
what you're
shit has
basically
happened,
saying is
and
that
I've been
people
exposed to so much.
what you're basically saying is that people shouldn't be afraid and take that step in helping
Hmm.
themselves,
Absolutely,
especially for themselves.
absolutely.
And I totally agree with that. I think there's in certain communities, not even let's just speak the truth in general, whether you're poor, middle class, rich, there's always somebody or a certain group that try to almost degrade you because you helped yourself.
Absolutely, and that was my next point. That after you said you know what you were said, is that we worry so much about what others people think
And
than
fuck what they think.
actually what we need to do. We're worried about getting the help because somebody's gonna say, "Oh, you're going to see a shrink," or "Oh, you're crazy," or "Oh, this." It's not about being crazy. It's not about going to see the shrink. It's not about that. It's the you people need to realize that it's about, I want to help myself. I'm in a stage in my life that I know is unhealthy for myself, and I know that I need help, and I'm a bigger person because I'm willing to go get that help.
Yeah.
And I'm a bigger person because I know that something's wrong with me and I'm not myself.
Yes.
And that I value in somebody so much, being able to come out and say, "Hey, listen, I need help. And something's wrong, something's bothering me," things like that, because that shows that, okay, you know something's wrong and you want to get the help that you need. And I will never ever think to say to somebody, "Oh, well, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about," or, "Oh, well, going to get help is
Yeah.
you shouldn't go
It's
get help."
totally
It's
ignorant
just
on their
ignorance.
part because
Exactly.
especially listen, I want to say this right in this stage of COVID that we're in.
Uh-huh.
Um, like if you go on TV, right, you see all these people, men especially, right, not groomed, looking like shit, like straight up shit, like a famous, let's say, a famous talk show host,
Hmm.
and you see him social media, he's not groomed, doesn't have a haircut, like they're going through something, you know, they're going through something.
Absolutely.
Because for
Absolutely.
you to just because like for me, like if I choose to leave my beard grow, it's because I want that stage. I want that stage. I want that. But in this whole pandemic, I've learned how to cut my hair. I already know how to shave myself. I've learned how to cut my hair. And like in this whole pandemic, I have not looked like a bum, in other words. But
I
you
mean,
see other people have done that.
I mean,
And
it wasn't easy,
yeah,
getting a barber,
yeah.
if you don't want to do, like,
But
if you
it's
can't do it
self-care,
yourself.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Like shaving, things like that. Okay. I mean, what are you gonna do? You gotta shave, you gotta take care of yourself. Like some people don't. I I understand, that whole thing, because like some people with their skin and things like that, if they shave themselves, they break out, things like that. I
Mm-hmm.
get that. But like for example, myself, barbershops were closed. Thank God I don't grow hair like that. But like, what do you do? You're gonna go find it. You're gonna figure out how to cut your own hair, or do you pay the guy that's willing to come to your house in a double what you would pay for a normal haircut, which is what I personally did.
Nah, brother. I've all my life I've known how to groom myself. Now cut hair and try to
Make those
fade
lines.
away.
And
Listen, there's some days some weeks I'm not proud of, but I've taken that initiative because of self care. I think in this pandemic, instead of people trying to get back to themselves and try to help them, whatever they with a workout, read a fucking book, help their mental. I think a lot of people have just laid back.
well, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't. I agree, because like, look at it in the beginning. So many layoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
The government is giving you your regular unemployment plus an extra $600. Some people were making more on unemployment than what they were making in a job. So
Yes.
now I'm comfortable at home. Why do I need to go find another job? Why do I need to do anything? I'm comfortable sitting at home and doing absolutely nothing. And I'm not saying as a jealous person, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not jealous at all. Um, I worked throughout the whole pandemic.
Me and you.
I didn't get the opportunity that a lot of people got. And I'm not jealous of them, but I would wish people would have took that opportunity and decide to get educated, or decided to do something with their time versus spend all the money and buy all these crazy things when they really didn't have the money to do it.
Exactly.
It's just crazy to me. It's just I don't understand where people's mindsets were, and that's the thing that we go through.
Yeah. I've in this pandemic, I think uh, I built a deck. I redid my whole website because the first time I did it myself, and this time I'm doing it myself. I've invested in my t-shirt company. Invested in trying to better my son's education and his state. Invested in myself because I I've gone through some stuff. This 2020, I've gone through some stuff. I'm not gonna share here. And for all my listeners, please don't judge me. And if you do, well, fuck yourself. I've actually taken the time out and gone therapy. You know, so in this pandemic, why other people have sat down and gotten overweight, I've taken this liberty and invested in myself and everything in my personal, my work, and my business. I saw this opportunity and I'm like, shit, this is the time.
Mm-hmm.
This is the time. So that when 2021 hit, if hopefully we're not in this pandemic stage and we're going to and finding some norm, I'm prepared. I don't think a lot of people are. There's a lot of people that are working right now, and you can literally tell in their face that they don't want to be there.
I mean, we all have those days that we don't want to be
Yeah,
there.
but now it's permanent. Now it's
Yeah, it's
permanent.
permanent. Why? Because those people that have that on their mind were those people that were like, oh fuck, I was out of work for a year, collecting great unemployment. And
Yeah.
look at it, and then you got those people like my parent, like my mom. My mom is out of work. She works in the entertainment business. My brother, he works for Elton John, which is and travels with him. They're out of work, but they don't know when
Nice.
they're going back.
Yeah. But what do you
And
do
they're
with listen,
and what does my brother?
one thing that people forget to realize and understand is that time. You know, if we come out like, I guess that's me, right? I can't obligate. Not everybody's gonna be like me, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Time for me, it's not money. It's not fucking valuable. It's time. You get what I'm saying? And I try to take the use of my time properly. We're not always going to be in a pandemic. We're not always going to, go through what we're going through. So time is the essence, and I need to use it as maximum as I can. And this time with this pandemic, which is the government's helping us and all this shit we're going through, I need to better myself. So that when it's time to fucking break loose, I'm able to sit here and inspire like you have inspired me. I'm able to when I'm told again that my position means shit to them and they wipe my ass, what their ass with it, I know how to hold my composure and not let my emotions. And when I'm taking a T-shirt order and they're trying to say, oh yeah, I could get it and this other place for cheaper, I'm able to say, hey, that's fine, but the quality is not going to be the same. And if it was the same, if it was good quality, you wouldn't be here right now. So please, with all due respect, take your business elsewhere. I'm able to just not worry about my son because my son has put in the work, and I have myself have invested the work for my son to be okay. So what are you taking? What skill have you learned? What book have you read? What have you done that have taken time and gave it value? What have you done? Because if you're fucking sitting on your chair or on your couch or on your bed watching fucking, I don't know, what's hot right now? What's hot right now on TV? I don't fucking, because I don't watch TV. I watch all day Super Wings on reading something, trying to educate myself in something. You get what I'm saying?
I mean, I get I get your point too, absolutely, because you had all this time on your hands. Now you decided to do something with it, right? And look at it in somebody else's perspective too. Look at my brother. I mean, I see my older brother as a role model because my older brother, yes, he's laid off.
Mhm.
He had an awesome job, full-time benefits, awesome job, right? Where he works, he's a stagehand, he does lighting and production. And boom, COVID hit, laid off, right? No health insurance, no nothing. My brother gets an unemployment check. Not only does he get an unemployment check, right? But my brother also went out and is on now working doing DoorDash and Grubhub because my brother is that type of person. My brother always wants to better himself.
Yeah, here goes to my point, right? Everybody's it's enjoying that fucking that unemployment, right? Like you stated before, they're making more that they will make in their job. My question to them, and I hope no one takes offense to this because I've asked it myself, right? For how long? For how long? For how long are you going to enjoy that free money or that money that's owed to you? How long, before it runs out? So I decided, and I inspire everyone, and if I can't inspire me, then try to take my advice and do not take my way of being, which is dishing out tough love to people. I went out and tried to invest and try to build a business, which I don't know if tomorrow's gonna fucking work. You get what I'm saying? Because everybody's doing fucking T-shirt. I invested in my wife's real estate. I invested in this equipment to have this platform for them. For them, so they can be here and present so that what, when the government says fuck you and takes my unemployment or my benefits or whatever, I still have something to support my family.
Right.
I'm not thinking about what I'm going to enjoy now. I'm thinking about what I enjoy in 10 years, the fruits of my labor.
Right.
I'm building a platform to say, hey, if your job, right, because me and you know each other, and the relationship we have, off cameras, it's like a brother.
Right.
So I could say, hey, this is not much, but I have something if you need a couple of dollars in your pocket. My
Mm-hmm.
table, when it comes to you, right, and it comes to my wife, comes to my kid, we sit in a round table,
Right.
you know? So that's what I did. I'm not
You
better than anybody,
right.
but this is what I'm saying. I'm trying to capitalize my time because establishes, because if I have to go back to work, at least I know I'm working, making money, or making something useful while I'm at work, and have something that I don't have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm doing this, I'm saying to people, you can do it. It's not easy, but you can do it.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know,
And even if you I mean you go back to work, obviously is a goal that you hopefully you want to do. Making t-shirts is not a bad thing to do on the side and make some extra money.
I honestly,
And
I honestly don't want to go to work. I found I've created for myself my passion, which is sitting down here and having a dialogue in which we're able to, all right, you tell me your point of view, I tell you mine. And I don't want to disagree with you. I don't want to stay and die on that hill. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear why you think that way and why you're taking that. I want to understand. I want to be educated. You get what I'm, because
agree to disagree.
this whole podcast, you've educated me in so much. There's certain things that at one point we didn't disagree on, whatnot, but I wanted to hear you. I wanted to hear how
Mhm.
your mind, your mind goes. What takes that brain of yours? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that I have no problem with doing. I love to talk to people. I love to,
Mhm.
if I can motivate you just a little bit or make you understand something just a little bit more because of the education that I have. And not only the education, but the life skills I have.
Mhm.
Like I said, everything for me was an education. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand.
It's life.
It's life skills. It's going about volunteering. And I was an advocate for volunteering. I always loved doing it. I've been on American Cancer Society boards. I've been on, I've volunteered in a hospital. I volunteered on an ambulance. I did a lot of volunteer work. Why did I do that? For myself. Didn't do it for anybody else. I did it for myself. Why? Because I knew at the end of the day, when I decided that I wanted to go into the field that I want to get into, all that volunteer work looks nice
Mhm.
for that position that I want to get to. And it's not being selfish. It's about knowing what you want and doing what you want because you want to learn and you want that education and you want that, even though it was free education for me and I was
Mhm.
giving free labor to them, the education that I got, I'm able to bring to other people. And at such a young age, I was able to have those role models. I
Mhm.
was able to have those people in my life that understood and knew where I wanted to be and could give me that feedback on how to get to where I want to be.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning. I'm not ever, ever going to say I'm not learning. I always want to learn. I'm always willing. Anything that somebody wants to teach me, I'm always willing to learn because you never know.
And
That
the
thing.
and the key of everything that you stated, the key is communication.
Mm-hmm,
And I think, you know, with people marriages, with people's jobs, what's happening, a war of racism that's happening to our brothers in the black community with the cops and, even with the fucking president. It's communicating and
mm-hmm.
how you communicate. If you're good at communicating, then your next learning skill is how to communicate,
Right.
where we all can be able to understand. And
Absolutely.
I think, like I said, COVID hasn't just hit me with the fucking pandemic. COVID has hit me in a almost intellectual um, way that there's certain things that I need to do, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
example, communicating. And that's how it has hit me. That's how I've digest this information and what I have been doing all this time. And that's what I think, in my opinion, because I could be wrong, you know, to whom is which, right? And I know that communicating is the key to have a better society, a better community, a better interaction, a better father, a better husband, a better friend, a better sibling, a better cop, a better president. Is able to find that decency and respect to communicate with one another. And from the issues we began to now, everything we have discussed and key to everything has been communication.
Absolutely.
You were where you're at 23 and be able to have all this knowledge on crime and sociology and all that stuff. You had to do it communicating.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think that is the key to everything.
Yes, absolutely. And like you said, communication is a big thing in anything. You don't like something that's going on in your job. How do you fix it? Yeah. Communicate with your bosses. Communicate. Tell them, hey, listen, something's bothering me. It's not going to get fixed or changed. There's going to be no changes if you don't.
I'm listening. Continue.
If you don't go and figure out how to properly do it and communicate with those people, it's all about communication.
Exactly, and that's one thing that I've learned throughout this whole pandemic. And maybe if we had a better understanding of, let's say, this virus, because you go through the social medias and the news, everybody has a different takes, or they know something different or more, and it's not consistent.
So my opinion on that is, don't believe what you see on media.
Fake news.
Because I personally don't watch the news. I don't read news articles. I'll read news articles, but I'll read them and then continue to read and learn about the situation, right?
Yeah.
So when you see something on a news channel, or you see something on a TV channel, or you see something on that, right? They show what they want to show. They know what the people's going to attract people's attention. It's not the whole picture. They're giving you a small picture versus the larger picture. And that's the thing. When you read about something happening, you read about a crime, or you read about a cop killing somebody, or you read about whatever, or you watch about it. The problem is that people don't actually go back and read and see and find out all the facts before they speak.
I remember, what you're saying, it hits right on the nail. When I don't know if you remember what happened in Paris, right? And I could be wrong for this, right? I'm not saying so please don't crucify me. Remember what happened with Paris, the bombings and whatnot? I can't remember what news station, but Charlie Sheen came out that he had AIDS at that time. And like they blew that shit up. Like there's something tragic going or something in another country that it's, I think it's close to us. We have people over there, they're going through something tragic because we went through that. And then the number one story is Charlie Sheen has AIDS. I mean, we all know he's gonna have AIDS, one time or another. Motherfucker's sticking his dick in everywhere he shouldn't have, Let's keep it G. But you see how what you're saying, they're covering something and think that something is more important. Like, that's not even true journalism.
So, like I said, what is going to get those views on TV? What's going to keep him in that 11 o'clock hour spot, right? Versus something that's not happening in our country. So why do they care? It's not that they don't care about it. Why cover something that's not going to make a big thing? It happened. Oh, this, like you said, Charlie Sheen had AIDS. Holy crap. It's a talk. Everybody's talking about this now, right? In Paris. I've never been to Paris. Next person next to me probably has never been to Paris either. So yeah, they're having bombings, but it really doesn't affect me or you. It
Mm-hmm.
affects those people in Paris. Yeah, you might have that family member in Paris. You might have somebody, a loved one. It might affect you, but for the most part, it doesn't affect you or I. So hey, why do we care about it? Now Charlie shouldn't have AIDS. That affects us because he lives across the water. He lives
Mm-hmm.
across the bridge. So that's the problem with media, and that's what I said, and that's why I dwelled on it. I said, don't always believe what you
Mm-hmm.
watch. Go and get the factual information. I'm not the type of person personally to talk about something without getting the facts, and I'll tell you, hey, I don't know. I'll be straight up and tell you, I don't know. I'm not going to say something if I don't know what I'm talking about or have an idea of what I'm talking about. And I believe in agreeing to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
I might agree with something. You're going to disagree with it. That's fine. But at the end of the day, we're both going to get to a point where we both agree at least on something. So that way the conversation is not that I hate you or you hate me and we can't talk to each other or we can't have a normal conversation because we can't agree to disagree. And that's going to happen in a lot of situations, not only in political situations, not only in media situations, in any situation. There's a possibility you're going to agree to disagree.
So my
But
next
you
question
have to
to
be
you,
okay
right?
with that.
Stating what you're stating, right? My next question is to you. What do you think about these vaccines?
What do I think about what?
The vaccines, the COVID, the COVID vaccines.
Personally, I will not be taking that vaccine. Um, I don't think that these vaccines have been tested enough. I don't think that these vaccines are something that we should be giving to people yet. Um, it's just way too early
I
for
read,
me personally to take it. It's just way too early.
I
Look
read,
at it. We still don't even know the flu's been around for how many years,
yeah.
right? We still don't know what goes on with the flu, really.
Well, I read
We have a
something. I
vaccine,
read
but the
something recently
vaccine
in that
makes you
the
sick.
flu each year is different.
Exactly. Exactly.
And also and the vaccine for the flu only works 40%.
Exactly.
And then I read something else that your body protection and whatnot is 99%, and the vaccine for COVID is only 90%.
Exactly my point. So why would I'm personally not going to take something that they haven't tested enough to even know if it's good enough to be taken.
My question is why they're asking minorities. I say minorities, probably use probably another word, but they're asking minorities to take them. They need the minorities' help to take them. Why can't a fucking billionaire take it? All right, go
Mm-hmm.
ask them. They got money.
Mm-hmm.
Why does the less fortunate have to be your test subject?
And look at it this way. So, of course, it's just a TV show, and it's kind of it kind of like threw me off the other day. So I'm a fan. I watch Grey's Anatomy. I watch all these
Mm-hmm.
medical shows and all this stuff, right?
Yes.
So a new Grey's Anatomy season has started, and I'm watching the episodes. Whatever they're talking about COVID. So they had patients with COVID, and one of the patients was one of the doctors on the show, right? And they said, "I'm not giving these vaccinations to a doctor, but they're because of all the side effects to this medication." So if a TV show is telling you this, and obviously the TV show is not real, it's actors, what, and then you look into vaccinations, and they're basically telling you the same thing. What makes you think I'm going to take this?
Or you go to the doctors, will you take it? It's like, no, I want to take it.
Exactly.
You know, like it's.
Exactly.
I don't.
It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, and it's
And
unfortunate.
like I said to you before, going back on this, the guinea pigs for our society is going to be children. They're going to force children and parents to make sure that they get their kids vaccinated. And it's sad because we don't know what these vaccinations are going to do to our children. I personally don't have any, but to my cousins, to my godchildren, to people that I love and care for, their children, it's sad because we don't know what the side effects are going to be to these medications. Look at the side effects to flu. They're making them seem like it's the same side effects to COVID. It's not.
Yeah, and they can't even pick which one is. They have the same
It's
side
not.
effects.
You don't know if you have the flu or COVID. I would have never knew that I had COVID. I went on a Monday to get a flu vaccination. Tuesday wasn't feeling myself. Just thought had to do with the flu shot. Wednesday test positive for COVID. Would have never thought I had COVID. Would have thought it was side effects of the flu shot. It was the same type of side effects that I've gotten every year I've gotten the flu shot. Who knew it was going to be like that? The only difference is when I woke up on Wednesday, I couldn't walk.
You
I
couldn't
was in
walk?
so much pain.
My son couldn't walk. And supposedly he had the flu.
So much pain.
Wow.
And then you look out on the other side where my godson had it. He's 6. He's closer to your son's age. Not one symptom. Thank God, because I would never want to see him go through what I went through, or my parents went through, or my brother went through. But it's just sad. It's sad. And there's nothing the doctors can do for you. They literally tell you take Motrin, take Tylenol, take Advil, take a leave. That's all they give you.
Last year at this same time, in November, I had the flu. I don't know. It could be. I couldn't even have the COVID. That was such early time it was.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, I was trembling in my bed. I was sweating bullets. Like I would just sit down and I looked like I just came out the shower.
Mm-hmm.
Gatorade, Pedialyte, and cold baths. That's what I did. That's what I did the whole, and I think it lasted terrible. Like in a month.
The worst one of the worst parts about COVID is the headache you get for like 6 or 7 days. That was terrible. Feels like a migraine that never goes away.
I had that too.
No, you could take whatever you wanted, would not go away. And sleep, all you did was sleep. Sleep. And I actually have 3 coworkers right now at work that have tested positive for COVID.
I think everybody has it. I think in general, because the first if it's because they said something was airborne or whatnot when it first came out.
It is airborne.
Like I think everybody has it. If the president had it, everybody has it.
Well, the president had it. Why did the president have it? He's around millions. He was around like 300,000 people. You're the president. That's a topic I can't. I don't even want to discuss because that guy aggravates me so much.
Boy, they're saying he doesn't want to leave office.
Yeah, he doesn't want to leave the office. He doesn't want to leave
office.
You did nothing for this COVID pandemic. Absolutely nothing. He did absolutely nothing, and that's just my opinion. I'm going to leave it there. But
Biden supposedly is going to close down the states again.
It needed to be done from the beginning.
Yeah.
They should have closed down airports. They should have closed down states. They should have closed everything down. And our governor, all he does is piggyback off of the other states. And whatever their decision is, New York's and Connecticut's, New Jersey does too. Governor Murphy does the same thing they do. This time around, he had actually some balls and actually set curfews and things like that for people, for our state, for bars, closing bars early and things like that. Because New York and Connecticut hasn't done it yet, but he had the balls to do it. Last time, when New York did it, is when he changed it. He changed it. Not because he makes his own rules and regulations. He follows everybody else. He's another one. I just, ugh.
Politics, right?
I don't understand. I don't understand their political views. I don't get it.
It's about making money. New York closes down. Nobody's making money.
Oh, of course.
Nobody's making money. How do you pay your rent if the states close down?
But think about it this way too. How do bartenders, waitresses, things like that, how do they get their money? I personally I like to go out to bars, like to go out to clubs, like to go out party and enjoy and fun time with my friends.
You're a party animal.
But
that's a different subject. Hopefully next time in the podcast we can discuss.
Talk about that. But the thing is that I am not going to go out at 7 o'clock at night and have to come home for 10 o'clock. I'm not going to do it. There's no point of me doing that. It's not fun. It's not. Usually you go out. You're going out about 10 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. Hanging out to 2, 3 in the morning, Coming
That's
home about
that some people. I remember when in my days, 9 o'clock, 9:30 was the time to start leaving to go out.
or starting to get dressed and taking a shower to go out.
Yeah, yeah.
Like not and that's the problem. That's the thing. Like, so I really do feel bad. And I in my town they just opened a brand new a bar and lounge. They the owners redid the whole bar. They put a beautiful bar. The bar was disgusting and run down and everything, and they renovated. I had to spend at least $100,000 to renovate the bar,
Definitely.
and they opened in COVID and got shut down by COVID. And now look at this. They got to close by 10 o'clock. So they're not making any money, lost all this money. Now what do they do? You know, it bothers me a little bit because it's like they didn't even get a chance, you know?
It's hard. It's
But
difficult,
it's
man. Like
exactly.
I am a person that needs to be outside. Like what I consider to be a childhood for me, I was outside.
Yeah.
I was outside. I hate the winter, but fuck. If I could walk and go outside and walk. Like I need that. It's
Mm-hmm.
therapeutic to me. I don't understand how people, and I apologize if I'm judging anybody because that's not what I'm trying to do. I don't understand sometimes how people can just sit the fuck down for hours, like and play video games.
Yeah, I can't do that either. Personally, it's not my cup of tea, and I don't like being locked up in the house. So,
Like
like,
I have a
this drives me
Switch.
nuts.
My wife got me a Switch for my birthday. I can't remember. I think I played it the first 3 days that I got it, and I look at it and I want to play sometimes, but I don't want to sit down. I don't want to sit down and get lost in hours, man. It's something is like I said, like it's something about time that was like I need to put my time and effort in something valuable,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see I can't. I had one of my good friends, Gene. He started his new gaming brand, Earthling Gene, and I know him like from the Battlefield days, right? He's good at that. That works for him. Personally, for me, I can't do that shit. I can't. I drive myself crazy. Sometimes we were in class with Mr. What's his name? Peacock, Timothy Peacock. Shout out to him. And sometimes we would just stay there. Like when he hit that you got 15 minutes, we would get up and stretch our legs, come back,
Like,
when like class is almost over. We got lose track of time.
yeah.
It's unbearable. It's unbearable. Like I'm here sitting with you, and you see me mixing with the camera, with the phone, with the mic, and it's difficult
It's not
for
easy.
me.
It's definitely not easy, and it's like I'm not used to sitting at a desk all day. So for me, it's like it's completely different now. Like I don't
Dude, when I was
run around at work anymore. I sit at a desk all day.
when I was working, they offered me this job in New York, same company, more money to sit at one desk, more money one desk, and I was like, nah. I'm getting.
Not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I'm not getting. It's not to save money, but I'm visiting accounts every other day, seeing new people. Sometimes it gets tiring,
Exactly.
but I can last longer like that than sitting all day in a damn desk.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. Like, so my first 2 weeks of training, I was working from home, and I'm like, I can't do this all day. I can't do this every day.
Yeah.
Like, they asked me if I wanted to work from home now, and I'm like, no, I can't work from home. Like, I don't want to be locked in
You
my
got
house
one of those walking desks.
24/7. I couldn't do it. To be locked in your house 24/7, I don't know how people work from home. I cannot do it. Just not me. Everybody has their own opinions, and everybody, feels some type of way, different ways about it. But just me, I can't do it.
It's difficult. So it's that it's doable. Yeah. That you want to do it. No. That you don't want. You're stuck in like a small box all fucking day.
Yep.
You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Exactly.
You're stuck
You're
in a
seeing the
fucking.
same people, your
Mhm.
family, your family, your family, your family. After a while, you get tired of seeing your family. I'm sorry, I love them to death, but
Yeah.
you don't want
You
to be
need. You
locked in a
need. You
house,
need. You need your space.
and you need sanity.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And when they offered me that job, I didn't hesitate to say. I don't think I even told my wife. I just, you know, I couldn't. I feel like I'm killing myself. But it is what it is.
Absolutely.
All right, brother. I want to thank you for coming on my show today.
Absolutely.
Thank you for all the listeners listening. And yeah, man, where can we find you at? If anybody wants to hit you up, get advice, see what you're doing.
Absolutely. So my Instagram is underscore Shawn SHAWN 04. You're more than welcome to add me on Instagram, follow me. If I don't reply back to you in a DM or you message me, I'll definitely get back to you. I don't get much phone access during the day, so it's usually more like a nighttime type of gig. Like I said, I work for the state of New Jersey, so we deal with people's social security numbers, Medicaid numbers, and things like that. So I can't have my phone, but I definitely will reach out. Yeah, most definitely. You could follow me on Instagram. I think that's the best type of communication. I also have Facebook. You can look me up on Facebook. Um, Same thing. Yeah, pretty much it. And then if you need somebody to talk to, you need that friend. Want to talk to somebody? I'm more than welcome to set up some type of thing so you could reach out.
Well, like I said, go check him out. As you can see, he's an awesome guy. He knows a lot. And when somebody's going through something or you see them they're struggling with something, don't be afraid to see how they're doing. And if somebody's trying to learn something and it's difficult, try to encourage them. You do more encouraging somebody than, saying they can't do it. So thank you for joining me today,
You're very welcome.
And let's do this again.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Bye.